Good. Welcome everybody to today's Trust Board meeting. This will be a relatively short meeting, enabling us to formally sign off some things that need to be returned at this time of year that have had considerable work already put into them by the Audit and Risk Committee or by the Quality Committee, and in one case to hear why we can't sign off today the annual report and accounts, but the progress on that and when we expect to be able to do that. So it will be short and purposeful today. We've got apologies for absence from Marta Phillips, Jackie Westaway and Alan Wishart. We're welcoming with Catherine, her Chief Nurse Fellow, Helen Smith. You're very welcome, Helen. And I think that's it as far as the apologies are concerned. We haven't had any conflicts of interest declared before the meeting, so I'm assuming there are none to be declared now. Okay, so let's move on to the update on progress with the annual report and accounts. Nick, can you explain where we are with that? Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Jackie. Morning, everyone. Would you mind if I defer to Sue to give a sort of summary and then Mike to provide detail? But it has been a bit of a struggle as you headline, Jackie.
Okay. Should I go, Jackie?
Yes, I mean, given that we're not doing it, we don't need to spend too long on it. We just need to understand why we're not doing it. But go on, fire away.
So we've made good progress, in particular compared to last year, where we had the first year of audit and all the complications associated with that and COVID. We haven't quite managed to get some of the judgment matters, I guess, fully concluded. And we need just a little bit more time for the auditors to gather the evidence to reach a conclusion. But I am optimistic that the outcome of this will be a better position than this time last year. But we've just got to finish off those last few pieces of work. We've got a meeting internally and with the auditors on Tuesday just to assess progress, because we gave them the weekend and today to really get on top of those outstanding issues. So it's remotely possible Mike's got a little bit more information, but basically we're just finishing it off, but we haven't quite made it to the end yet.
I mean, just to be fair, Sue, when you say, let's hear from Mike, but when you say, sorry, can people go on mute if they're not talking? When you say we, strictly speaking, it's not we, is it? It's the auditors we pay a large amount of money to. But anyway, Mike.
Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, you may have just conveyed some of my own frustration, but yeah, absolutely. I think we've done. We've responded where we can. We've got two main issues, and they are both PFI related that are outstanding. One is that we pay a sum every year for the building to be kept up to a certain condition, and the auditors want to test that the evidence is there for that. And then the second part is that we pay a certain amount for our equipment to be updated at the end of its life cycle. And we've been doing this, both were in the accounts last year, and they just want to continue to test that. So we believe we provided what we can provide them. So it's now to them to make a judgment. I think all in all, the rest of the audit is in a reasonable place.
Good. Okay, so when are we expecting to be able to bring this to a conclusion?
So I've asked for an extension of the national team of a week. We have the meeting with the auditors tomorrow, and there's a very firm ask that they have a written plan that tells us how we get to that deadline submission, assuming we get the extension.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, so in summary, can I just apologise to the board? This is not how we want things to work. It is much better, as Sue says, than last year. But I think after this, we just got to question, what more can we do to help the auditors meet these deadlines? They're heavily technically run rather than customer focused, in my view. So we just got to work that through.
Okay.
Indeed.
we need to do to help the auditors. Okay, fine. It's very generous of you. Okay, so I think we've said everything that we need to do about that, and we will need to convene the board again in order to formally sign off the annual report and accounts. So let's move on to the provider licence self-certification. Linda, do you want to give a bit of background to this? Thank you.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Chair. So each year, trusts are required to self-certify that they can meet the obligations of the provider licence. And it's a retrospective declaration looking back at last year, 21-22. And the report sets out the evidence for compliance and the details of the governance that we as an organisation have in place for that. So to draw to the board's attention, 2 key areas. One is that proposing confirmation against all areas. And second, that there are 3 key areas of risk that we identify in the grid, in the appendix. And these will tie into the Chief Executive's annual governance statement, which will come out in the annual report when we publish it. So they're the 3 areas of control weakness, which are financial sustainability, emergency access standards, and the elective referral incident that the board has previously discussed. And against each of those, there's a brief summary of the mitigations. So the self-certification has been reviewed and endorsed by the Trust Executive Committee and the Audit and Risk Assurance Committee, and the board is asked to approve the self-certification. And if the board is happy with that, we will then publish onto the website. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Linda. Are there any questions or comments about that? Okay, I will take that as approval then, and thank you to Tech and ARC for the work that's gone into reviewing it. Good, thank you. The data security and protection toolkit, which has also been reviewed through Tech and ARC. Who wants to briefly introduce this?
Hi there, it's Martin Perrett from Information Governance here. So happy to present this. So the DSPT is an annual self-assessment tool that we have to submit every year. Basically provide NHS England with assurance that we're meeting our data protection obligations. So with our submission this year, we've had an external independent audit that came back as significant assurance with minor improvement opportunities. There's only a few risks identified. One was around policies, which we've resolved now. And then one was around training, because we need to meet 95% training compliance across the trust with the information governance. We've gone through tech and audit to try and resolve this, and as of the 13th of June, we actually managed to meet 95% training, which is really good. So we're actually in a position where we're happy for this to be signed off, and obviously it just needs to go through our trust board today for its final approval before being uploaded to the DSPT.
Thank you, Martin. Nick?
Yes, and as CIRO for all of this, I'd fully endorse the work that Martin and team have done. It's very impressive.
Okay, great, thank you. Particularly getting that training rate up in the way in which you have done. Well done, good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, good. I will take that as approved then. Which brings us on to the quality account, which has been reviewed by the Quality Assurance Committee. Mamta, is it somebody in your team who is doing this, or are you doing it?
It's me, Jackie.
Lovely.
So you're going to bear with me. So we've sent the big pack for approval, and we went through it ahead of the board meeting last week with the Quality Assurance Committee. We've done the amendments, and I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments on this quality account? No, okay, good, thank you. That's the end of the formal business then. Is there any other business that we need to do today? Are there any questions from the public? We haven't received any in advance. No, okay, good, thank you. Although this is a very short meeting, it's obviously the culmination of an enormous amount of hard work. So thank you to everybody who's been involved in that, and we look forward to the sequel when we do the annual reports and accounts. Good. Thank you, everybody.